And U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff just wrapped up a meeting with President Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin. President Trump is threatening heavy sanctions on Russia in just 2 days if Putin doesn't agree to a ceasefire deal with Ukraine. Foreign correspondent Tom Sufi-Burridge has more on that. Tom, what do you make of the timing here? Does that mean Witkoff thinks that he could actually maybe get a deal done in the next 2 days?
The timing is key. I mean, it comes at a critical juncture for the Trump administration's relationship with Putin and his regime. I think, in terms of diplomatic efforts to end the war, Trump has set deadlines before and nothing much has come of them. But Diane, I think this feels very, very different. And Trump is clearly indicating in the last few days that he might go for these much more severe sanctions. They're called secondary sanctions because they would put big penalties on other countries who are buying Russian gas and oil, like China and India. That said, Trump has suggested such sanctions probably won't stop Putin. I mean, in terms of the optics today, Witkoff met with Putin's envoy for investment and economic cooperation before his meeting with Putin. So I think the Russians, are, like other governments, are trying to play the transactional card here, trying to offer deals effectively to the Trump administration. But President Trump appears fixated on trying to end this war, even though the Kremlin under Putin shows absolutely no sign it is willing to do so. And on the battlefield and in terms of the pattern of escalating aerial attacks on Ukraine, Russia is doing exactly the opposite, Diane.
U.S.-Russia relations have been through a few changes over the past few months. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, look, the backdrop to today's meeting is fundamentally different. I mean, just days ago, remember, President Trump said he would move US nuclear submarines into the appropriate regions in response to a social media post or threat from Russia's former president, who's now a senior official and still a key ally of Vladimir Putin. And I think, look, Trump's rhetoric has been gradually evolving over time. The president expressing increasing frustration, increasing anger at times, suggesting President Putin is playing him. But I think it's important to note that the rhetoric on the Russian side has also changed too recently. Key Russian propaganda figures who used to praise Trump are now increasingly critical. And this suggests that the Kremlin is potentially preparing the Russian public for a more prominent public fallout between the two leaders. That said, I think, the official Kremlin spokesman for now is playing all of the rhetoric down. The Russians are still trying to, I think, basically paint themselves as peacemakers despite everything to the contrary. And I think the Ukrainians sense an opportunity. So, where the president will land on this is key. We'll have to look ahead to Friday for that. Diane?
All right, Tom Sufi-Burridge, thank you.